What ideas do you have to reduce poverty in Canada?
I guess one of the biggest barriers that people that are especially homeless or financially insecure have is the lack of an address. So an increase of socialized housing or even just socialized accommodations, which would allow multiple citizens to use, even if it's just to have a landline and an address, which helps them hurdle barriers such as finding employment or accessing certain services.
Maybe access to skill programs so that they can learn a trade or learn a service or learn some form of program so that they can put that into getting a job into the workforce.
Yeah, basically I think along with what they're saying, but I think you start with the basic income. And I think you start with that, then you start adding all the skills programs and the resources like that. But I think it has to start with that, because otherwise people are they can't do it.
I don't know. I've been reading that in Europe, they're giving everyone a certain minimum wage. So regardless of what you do, what your background is, or whatever, everyone gets a certain minimum amount to use as best they can. And they tried that as an experiment. Apparently it didn't work. The idea of giving people something for nothing, it doesn't work. You have zero value for whatever you give them. So what to do about it? I really don't know. I don't know. The population, they've always had poor, they've always had middle, they always had extreme rich and everything in between. And it doesn't matter what you do. There's no perfect system out there. So I really can't answer that.
I would say economic growth, good economy.
Diversification of economy. Because I live in Alberta, so I think it's a big one nowadays. As before they were investing everything, pouring all the money into oil and gas, and now it's,
right.
The situation.
I'm not sure that it's ultimately solvable. I think there's always going to be a marginal number of people who, for whatever reasons, are just not able to kind of live in that kind of social construct, right? And but I think that our responsibility needs to be to continue to encourage governments and people that have both the power and the money to make sure that housing is available, and that we can get people that desperately need, whether it be medical care and need clothing, need a warm place to sleep, that we can provide that, and not be walking out into a park and seeing little tent cities and whatnot. It just doesn't. I don't think it represents the kind of country that we are, the civil country that we can be. And yeah, we just need to kind of keep our foot on the gas.
Well, I think we do a lot in terms of social programs to try and improve people's situations, but I do think that we struggle a bit in the outreach department. The programs are there, but we don't link that with trying to actually reach the people who need it. They have to actively seek it out. And I understand that that's a balancing act. In order for people to move out of poverty, they do have to have some wish to move out of poverty, but at the same time, if they're not well educated into the opportunities, how can they choose to make that movement? So it's a tricky balancing act that I think we're not there yet. We've definitely spent money on the programs, but we haven't spent money in the right way, in my opinion.
Immediately, all that comes to mind is more homeless shelters. The wintertime sucks here, so I mean that can be deadly. And dealing with the meth epidemic, because I've seen firsthand living downtown that affects people very dramatically.
Increased taxes on the super rich. I think the disparity in the highest income earners and the lowest has just gotten out of hand, and we have to do something about that.
Certainly systemic racism is a huge thing in Canada. FSIN and those organizations really need to start speaking up for their people, and the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan and Canada. When you consider that most people under the poverty line are First Nation or Métis, that's a huge concern, and certainly it's forgotten,
Well, the guaranteed income supplement might be a way, but that's no guarantee either. it's a possibility, but not guaranteed.
I think one of the things that's linked to poverty that people don't understand is addiction is a serious issue, linked to poverty and mental health. So those things have to be addressed before you can deal with poverty.
Other than what's already been done, it's tough to reinvent things all the time. But again, the government has to be able to listen, be aware, and not be complacent. So there might be some new ideas coming out of this experience of COVID-19 that may help, because people are wanting to turn the sod on new ideas, right?
In Saskatoon, for downtown, for example, there's a lot of people every single day that are asking for change, and there's repeat people that you do get to know and see often, and it'd be nice for the city to, I don't know if we need to necessarily make another lighthouse, like more places for these people to go and have a safe place to sleep and eat. But I feel like we can definitely do a better job with poverty in Saskatoon.
I really do like the guaranteed basic income plan. I was not a fan until about a year ago, when I've actually done some research, read up some books and some articles, and there's been case studies in Manitoba and other countries. I didn't think it would work, but actually I'm beginning to be convinced that actually it would be a very good idea for Canada to seriously consider a universal basic income. I think that probably would be the best thing we could do for poor people.
Mental health is my thing. I think we need a lot more help with mental health in the city. For like people that are struggling with addictions and people that are struggling with things that they don't know about with their mental health, I feel like that causes homelessness and causes not showing up to work and causes a lot of the stuff that leads up to you being in poverty?
You know what, that's a tough question. We have a real problem here. Again, I could go outside the box, and my sort of socialist background would say that maybe we need to stop investing so much in foreign policy and a little more in the home economics and deal with our own people. We have people here living on the street on a regular basis and don't have enough to eat. And I appreciate the political behind it all to invest in foreign countries, but I think we need to look after our own a little bit more.